One friend of mine, Josh Enriquez, he sent me a conversation between Simon Sinek and Trevor Noah that was about friendship and loneliness. And we'll link to that in the description in the show notes, so you can go watch it. It's definitely worth listening to or watching the whole thing. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things that they speak about specifically in the episode. So let's go ahead and dive in and start with that. And here's the first clip that we're going to show from that.
So the thing that I'm sort of obsessing about right now is friendship. There's an entire industry to help us be better leaders. There's an entire industry to help us be better parents. There's an entire industry to help us eat better, exercise better, sleep better. And yet there's barely anything on how to be a friend. And if you think about all the mental health challenges that so many of us are facing today, whether it's coping with stress, depression, anxiety, addiction, even obsession with longevity, friendship is the ultimate biohack that literally fixes all those things.
So this was the first thing that I thought was really interesting. And Simon Sinek, who's one of my favorite thought leaders, brings up a very good point. And he talks about how we have entire industries that are dedicated to leadership, which is one that he's very familiar with and one that he's really played in and become a dominant figure in, in the last decade plus. And then there's, entire industries dedicated toward health and longevity and anxiety and depression and all of these things. The best way to solve all of them potentially is actually just friendship and how to be a better friend. And so I thought it was really interesting that he brought that up as a point at the very beginning of this, because he's not just a random person. He's a guy that's very much involved in a lot of these other industries. And so for him to start to literally start this whole conversation by saying, like, this is my new obsession. I am obsessed about thinking about friends, friendship, how to make more friends, how to be a better friend, I thought was really telling, because these are the types of thinkers, these are the types of people that have the ability to talk about and think about whatever they want to talk about and think about. And people like Simon Sinek are constantly thinking of the future, constantly thinking of where we're going to be in a few years and what the things we're doing now, how they will have an impact on who we're going to become as individuals, but also as a society as a whole. And so for him to come out and say, I'm obsessed about this, first of all, was refreshing, because I've been starting to feel lately like I'm a crazy person, because like nobody's talking about this and it seems to be such a massive problem. But like he said, that there's no industry that talks about this. And a lot of it's kind of not really taboo. It's just, it's less scientific. People go about it in just like we'll let it happen kind of a way. And I've been kind of fighting this for the last 6 or 7 years, because my show was initially called Build Your Network, and it was a lot about business networking and getting to know people and how relationships can affect your success in business in a very positive way, and also in a very negative way, depending on how you look at it. And like I said, I started to feel like a crazy person, like I was throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, but nothing was sticking. And the rebuttals that I would get would be this exact thing, where people are trying to, and especially in a business context, are looking at ROI, and there's no way to measure the ROI on the times you spend with friends or the times that you spend building relationships until, like Steve Jobs said, you look back. There's no way to do it looking forward. The only way to do it is looking back. And when you have something that's less tangible, it's in the clouds, it can be really difficult to bring it down to the dirt and then convince people that it's actually a really good use of their time, because they're not seeing that immediate benefit from doing that thing. And so I thought it was really refreshing to hear somebody who tackles massive problems all the time, like Simon Sinek, talking about this in this way. And then the rest of the conversation, Trevor Noah goes on to say a lot of the same things, that this is something that he's been thinking about the most, that he's purposefully the last few years been taking friend trips and bringing, he said his group is up to like 15 or 16 people where they'll just go to a different country and go hang out, and they'll hang out, have a good time. And they have kind of intentional evenings where they ask a specific question, and then everybody goes around, they discuss that whole thing, and they become friends. They get vulnerable with each other. They allow each other in. They show openness and willingness to discuss things that are difficult to discuss. And I thought that was a really beautiful example of what can happen, especially in male friendships, because that's so the opposite of how most men are. And so Simon Sinek goes on to reference this study after he says that line that I thought was fantastic. He said this in a different part of the conversation. He said, friendship is the ultimate biohack that literally fixes all of those things. It's the ultimate biohack. Biohacking, longevity, health is, all those things are such popular industries and such popular phrasing that we've heard recently. And I'm one of those people, and I'm not vilifying any of that, by the way. It's all great stuff. I loved reading Dr. Peter Attia's book Outlive. I think it should be required reading for anybody who values health and longevity, because he's one of the most qualified people to talk about it, and he covers a range of different topics and does it in a very professional, data backed, but also anecdotal type of a way. And so I thought there was a lot of value to books like that. But to hear this phrase, friendship is the ultimate biohack that literally fixes all those things, it's something that's never talked about in any of those circles. But it could be the one solution that solves all those other problems.